That's a little better.
All right, good evening and welcome to the special edition of Community Issues. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. Today's topic of discussion is living with COVID. And right now I have two distinguished guests that's here with me this evening. They're going to talk about their experience with COVID. We have Dr. Nadine Lindsay from Dell Healthcare Solutions, and we have Mark Hopkins. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for being a guest on tonight's program.
Hey, thank you very much.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Mark. We're going to start about you shared with the Facebook family that you had COVID. So I want you to take me back until to when you started first having symptoms. When you started having symptoms, did you go to the hospital? Just share briefly the story of how you was diagnosed with COVID and the struggles that you had.
Yeah. Well, back in August, probably August 1st or August the 30th is when I not the 30th, but July the 30th into August is when I started noticing some issues. Got chills at night. I think it was like Friday night. I don't know if that was the 30th of July or what, but got chills and, I laid down and, went to sleep, got up, felt better. And then at one point, I got very, very hot the next day. It's like sweat just started pouring down my head. And that was unusual, but then it stopped and I'm like, washed my face, washed up, and I said, well, that was kind of unusual. And, was kind of concerned about that, but I started feeling better. And but then I noticed that, I don't know, throughout the day, it might've been throughout that day. I don't know if it was Saturday going into Sunday, but throughout that day, I believe Saturday, I started finding myself as I walk, I know I went to the store, but at certain points there, I would find myself having to stop and, and breathe. And it's like I was, my chest was beginning to hurt. It's kind of like I was losing my breath. And so then I, came home, and I know I went into, I don't know if that was Saturday, but or Sunday morning when I went to the store. But that night I went to sleep, getting ready to go to work, getting ready to get up the next day for work and getting my night's sleep. But then throughout the night, I found myself, late in the morning, Monday morning, Sunday, at night, I just found myself not feeling well. And so then I text my boss and, let him know in a text that, I was not feeling well and I was going to the hospital, Monday. And Monday, I think Monday was the 2nd. Okay. So Saturday was the 31st. And then, Sunday was the 31st. And I think Monday was the 2nd, because that's when I checked in, it was the 2nd. Right. So Saturday was the 1st, and Sunday was the 1st, and Saturday was the 31st. But yeah, got to the hospital. They said that I had COVID. They checked me for COVID. And they said, yeah, you have COVID. And they said I was down 3 liters of oxygen. I needed 3 liters. And from there, they just, put an IV on me and wheeled me, got a room and wheeled me to the room. And I was up there for 26, got in there the 2nd of August, and I came out the 20th 5th or 26th. So,
Okay.
it was,
He was there for a good while.
say again?
So he was there for a good while.
Yeah. I was there for a good while. It was, my breathing that went down as far as my oxygen level at one point they had, two, oxygen things on me, I think they call it a Doppler or something. And then the other one, they have a bag on it and they had that one over my face as well. But then they ended up, giving me, did an infusion, the antibodies, done that. They pretty much did took me through the COVID program that they got. They have a set pattern of what they do with COVID, and they took me through every step of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to come back to you, Mark. Dr. Lindsay, talk about your experience with COVID.
Quite an interesting one. Interestingly, I was in academia that particular year, that semester. I was full-time in academia. However, I went out to work and I just happened to go inpatient, and I had a patient that was on the COVID unit. I was concerned about her, and so I went there 3 times to see her. But as someone who cared for COVID patients, I understood what I needed to do. And as a germaphobe, my hands are I'm always cleaning my hands. And so I put on my PPE each time I went there, and I degowned and, washed my hands. However, maybe a week after, it probably was like a week after, maybe 5-7 days later. And I just happened to be, it was around Christmas time. And I said, well, let me run into the mall and pick up a couple things for my nieces and nephews. But as I walked in the mall, I started feeling a little achy in my upper back. And I thought, but normally around Christmas time, I get a viral cold. And so I thought, it's just a viral cold. As I walked into another store, I thought maybe I should go home, So I got home and I called my business partner, and I was telling her, I said, I just don't feel good.
Right.
And, she said, we tried to convince, she said, I don't think it's anything, and she said, let's see what happened tomorrow. And I woke up the following day and I could feel my left lung, it was unwell. And at that point I called her and I said, I don't feel good. I wasn't coughing, I didn't have a fever, but I knew that something was wrong. And so we decided, she said, let me just call high dose of steroids for you. And so I said, okay. But what I did, I started with, by then my mom is in the house. My mom is in her 60s, and my nephew is sick at the time, he was 5, is in the house. And so I started wearing my mask in the house, and I would try to isolate myself as much as possible, because prior to that, my daughter had COVID and we managed it because she worked for an airline. So back in April, when everybody, when the COVID was at its peak, well, coming on, when we just found out it was around, she had it, but we managed to take care of her in the house and no one else got it. So I'm thinking, okay, I got this. So I would isolate myself. I would, but then I lost my sense of smell and I lost taste, and I knew this was it. There was no point, and at that point I knew, I called my business partner back and I said, well, just call me in some albuterol because I'm asthmatic. And at that point I said, Mom, I don't know. But by then my sister came. And I really was worried for my mom more so than anything else. But I tell you what, as the days progressed, my situation began to get worse. I did not have a cough like most people do. I did not have fever like a lot of people do. I was just very unwell. I remember December 26th, I woke up. I remembered, I think my mama gave me breakfast. By then, my appetite was literally gone. And I don't recall what happened for the rest of the day because I would sleep, wake up periodically. But one of the things that I would do is I would walk around. Every time I woke up, I would put on my mask and I would walk around in the hallway. I would walk on the stairs. I would walk. I would just walk. But I was exhausted a lot and I slept a lot. But that phase, that very acute phase, lasted actually about 9 days. I was literally exhausted. I couldn't do much. I had no appetite. There was one point for 72 hours, I had 4 teacups of coconut water, just coconut water. Yeah, by then, yes. And so it became a ritual because I had taken some azithromycin, and with the high dose of steroids that I took, my immune system was completely suppressed. And so I developed what we call thrush of the mouth, right? Because my immune system is suppressed. And so my girlfriend, Mary, she called in some nystatin for me. So it was a series. Every morning I would wake up and I would go to my tub and I would soak myself in the tub for 45 minutes. And I would then, rinse my mouth, my swish and spit. And it was like a ritual. And I would try to eat something so I could take my medication. But again, it lasted a very longer than I anticipated. Now, I remember my business partner, she said, you're not feeling better and I'm concerned about you. I think we should take you to the ER. And so, of course, the clinician in me, I said, I think I'll put on my makeup and I might just die here with my children. So instead of dying alone. And so my other girlfriend, Mary, she takes care of COVID patients at a hospital. She said, if I have to, I will come and we'll give you an IV and we'll just infuse medication. So I told her, hold off until tomorrow. And the following day I woke up, I took a shower, I soaked myself again like I normally do, and I put on my coat, and this time I walked outside. And every 2 hours I would walk. I kept on walking. And then about 2 to 3 days later, I started feeling a little better, and gradually, but it was an absolute gradual process. But then my entire family had gotten COVID and I was concerned about my mom, needless to say. So my immune response was just not there. I was exhausted from building the practice. And so by the time COVID hit, my immune response was probably a 0. And so this is what contributed to this long-lasting issue, because I've never had any such problem. That's as sick as I've ever been in my life. That's my, And so I kept on walking within those days, and I started gradually feeling better. Needless to say, I lost 20 pounds. Had it not been for the fact that I'm a clinician and I was surrounded by clinicians and my girlfriend and my business partner, maybe I would have wound up in the hospital. So therefore, I'm just grateful. But I have been there and I know what COVID has the potential to do.
Right. Okay. And now joining us in conversation is Ms. Connie Morris. Ms. Morris, good evening and welcome to today's program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, no problem. Now, Mark and Dr. Lindsay just talked about their experience with COVID. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to, at what point, what were the symptoms that you were experiencing, and did you go to the hospital? Share your story.
Yes, I went to the hospital emergency. My daughter called emergency for me to go. A lot of the trip I can't remember. That's part of the COVID. You do have memory loss. The symptoms that I had: dry mouth, weakness. The days in the hospital, I really don't remember.
Oh, okay.
My daughter knows a little bit more than I do, but this COVID, it's really, it's a mess.
Well, how long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital 2 weeks, and then from that, I went to rehab, and was in rehab 2 months.
Okay. Okay. So I want to ask you a question. Then I want Mark to also answer this question. When you found out that you had COVID, what was your immediate reaction?
My reaction was, I couldn't believe it. I didn't think that I would ever get COVID. That was my reaction to it, not believing it, and just being,
Yeah, I guess my reaction when I was laying there, I went into the emergency and was laying there, and they came back and they said, you have COVID, test positive for COVID, and you're down 3 liters. I really didn't know what they meant when, at that point, I didn't know what they meant when they said you were down 3 liters, because I didn't know. Say you needed 3 liters of oxygen, so I really didn't know what that meant. But as far as the COVID, at that point, I don't think I really had a big reaction to it. I was just like, okay, basically, okay, so where we go from here? I guess that was my thought. So I pretty much just, whatever they decided to do, which I didn't go there to, I didn't go there to stay, and I didn't go there to be wheeled into a room. But when they said that, you have COVID, and they put the IV on me and gave me the fluids and the steroids, and I just pretty much felt, okay, well, I guess I'm in their hands, and that's the, the bad part about it was, I had 2 teenagers at the house that, I have my great niece and great nephew that came to live with me to actually get a better life. And, I'm taking care of them, and, they're in a house, and, and I go there to just check myself, and next thing you know, I'm in the hospital 26 days.
Right.
So then it turned out that, I don't know exactly when, but I think it was a few days later that I found that my great niece, because I was calling to the house, and people was checking on them, and but found that she started feeling bad. And, I had called the hospital, called the ambulance while I was in the hospital, and had them come and take her to the hospital. She's 15 years old. It turned out that when she got there, they test her, and they said she had it.
Right.
So, now I'm really feeling bad, because I'm like, now if my niece die, then, I didn't do the responsible thing. I didn't do what it took, at least take the chance to do, the thing to protect them. And that's why I'm for, I wasn't against getting the vaccine before, but I think my biggest thing was, I was thinking about, 666, thinking about the, what's going to happen when that comes. Okay, because they telling us you're going to have to do this. There's going to be a time where the rapture comes, and they're going to be saying the same thing. You got to do this, or you're not going to be able to buy groceries. You got to get the mark, or you're not going to be able to, whatever. But, as I thought about it in the hospital, I said, it's not the same as, the 666. This is something that we're doing to try to save people's life. This is something that the world needs to do. We so busy, there's so many people busy saying, I'm not going to get the vaccine because somebody's saying you have to get the vaccine. The only thing is, it's kind of like, that's kind of like people that, I tell you not to cut your arm off, but because you want to be defiant, you go ahead and cut your arm off.
Right. Well, let me ask you three. I have a friend, a fellow actor who had COVID. And one of the things he said that was very scary, he said he was afraid he was going to die. So I want to ask you three questions. If it's too personal, you don't have to answer it. I was fighting whether or not I should answer it, but when something's on my mind, I got to ask. So did any three of you ever fear that you were going to die as a result of having COVID-19? Whoever wants to share their answer, they can. If it's too personal, then we can move on.
I literally would go to bed every night wondering if I would wake up the next morning. Again, I am from a family, my mom, unfortunately, they have good genes. I say they now because I feel like I no longer, after what COVID did to me, but I have a mom who has never been hospitalized. In her life, she had her 6 kids at home, and 6 to 7 have been hospitalized. And so with that, I would just go to bed each night, doing everything that I could as a clinician, taking care of myself with my family and friends, taking care of me. But I would go to bed each night wondering if I would wake up the next day. And I remember my director from the university, she called me one day and she said, I'm going to pray with you. And as she was done praying and I got up to walk away from my chair, I felt like a weight kind of just lifted off me. And like I said, then my healing process was gradually, improving. So yes, to your question, absolutely. I would go to bed just wondering if I would make it up the next morning. And so each morning I got up, I would just be grateful that I made it through. Because here you are, people are dying left, right, and center with this problem. And I knew for myself that I was unwell because, again, I was very stressed. I was building a practice, a lot of stress with doing that. And so my immune response was just not there. And so, yes, I wondered. I worried about it, actually.
Okay. Does anyone else want to answer the question, or we can move on to the next? All right.
Yeah, I'll answer that. There's times when I was in a hospital, I felt that I was going to die. I prayed, and told God, I said, hey, I just want to be ready. Mm-hmm. I just want to be ready. So, if I have to go, then Lord, forgive me for my sins that I've committed knowingly, sins that I've not knowingly. I just want to be ready when it's time to go. And there was times that, through the night, because I got pretty bad. I mean, with my oxygen, I got to the point where, I think I lost I was like 290, probably like 294 when I went in. And I think I was probably about 250 when I came out. So, I lost about 40 something pounds. It got to the point where, you know, in the hospital, you know, my toilet was right by my bed. You know, it's the one that you sit down and move, and they had to come in and clean. And there's times where, you know, whenever I got up, my oxygen would start dropping immediately. And, you know, and when I got to the toilet, it's like I had to hurry up, and it's like, you know, while I'm on the toilet, it's dropping. And I'm like, you know, am I gonna die using the toilet? You know, there's times I had to jump off the toilet and just, you know, I told God as I'm, you know, moving from the toilet back to the bed, I said, Lord, I said, okay. I said, is this, I said, so this is my night. You know, I said, this is my night to go. So this is how I'm gonna go. You know, and that's how I was questioning God. I said, is this how I'm gonna go? You know, because at the same time I'm hitting the buttons are going off, the lights are flashing, my oxygen is dropping. I'm hitting for the nurses come in, you know, and half the time the buttons wasn't working. And, you know, I'm like, you know, I just, it's okay, God, just jump back on the bed. And I said, well, if I go, I go, you know, and but then they came in, and I think at that point I was, you know, I don't even think I had pulled my pants back up, but it was a ordeal.
Right.
It was an ordeal. You know, I had a time in there, and you know, I was constantly, you know, watching my oxygen. I had the thing on my finger, and you know, and I at one point I had to tell them, you know, wean me off of this oxygen. Wean me off. You know, wean me off, and they kept adding more oxygen. And but then, you know, finally we, you know, and a lot of prayer was going forth. You know, my you know, ex-wife, her and, you know, her you know, Christian friends, and you know, everybody was praying. So, you know, God just you know, God just turned things around, you know. So
Yeah.
I know when I came back out the hospital, I was still on oxygen. I mean, I got down to 4 liters when I sit still. But then if I got up to move, and then one of the doctors said, I don't know why they want to send you home like this, because when I got up to move, and they knew I wanted to go home, I said, I'm ready to get out of here. And but if I got up to move, if I walk 10 feet, I could walk about 6, 7 feet, and then my oxygen will hold up for that. But then after about 6, 7 feet, it started dropping. So she's like, you know, I don't know why they want to send you home, you know, but, you know, I was able to be okay at 4. So, you know, one of the nurses was like, well, you think are you going to be okay?
Right.
I said, well, what do you think I'm going to be okay? She said, I really don't know you. Right. You know, so I said, well, what would you do? She said, she said, I had COVID, and, you know, I was very weak. I said, well, you know, I ended up did come home, and, you know, they had the oxygen here. They had to plan all that out, get the oxygen here at my house. Somebody had to be here to receive it. The ambulance brought me home because they wouldn't let me drive. Right. And the ambulance, you know, they strapped me down on the bed in the ambulance and brought me to the house, helped me in the house. And so I stayed on the first floor, and one of the guys from my church, I had him come and bring the oxygen, meet with them for the oxygen. And that was probably one of the worst nights I ever had to sleep, because they ended up coming and taking the children. They're in foster care, But they ended up coming and taking them back to Indiana. So I was pretty much here at the house by myself. And, you know, I was at the point where, you know, it was nice to be in my home, but I'm like, I couldn't even move from one couch to the next couch without, you know, oxygen dropping. I'm like, you know, that was probably the most fearful night I ever had in my life because I'm,
Okay. All right.
you
Well,
know,
I'm gonna
I
give
ended up,
right.
I-
Let me give let me Miss Connie. Did you want to address the question? You probably want.
Fear of dying? No, I wasn't really thinking of that, but it was more to survive, be here with my family, getting well, and learning to walk again, and speech
Oh wow.
more clear.
Right.
Speech was slurred, but I had to do rehab to learn to walk again, because it was a time there I couldn't walk, couldn't talk. I was pretty weak.
Right.
But far as what you asked, no, I didn't think of that.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, you had faith. All three of you had faith. Definitely. Dr. Lindsay, you know, some people catch COVID-19. They quarantine for what, 20 days, get retested, they good, they didn't have to go to the hospital, nothing like that. But then you have others like Mark and Miss Connie who had to go to the hospital, be put on oxygen, and this, that, and the other. So what makes some people just, you know, they catch it and maybe after 14 days it's going, then other people, man, they got to be in the hospital, be on oxygen and all that stuff.
That is a very good question. Unfortunately, we continue to learn more about COVID every day. We continue to look for answers. There's still so much that is not known about COVID. What we do know though is that if some individuals, if you have comorbidities, you're you have a higher highly likely that you will be affected more than others, right? For me, and I'll use myself as an example, never been sick, but I'm pretty healthy, but at the time I was going through a lot. I knew I was very stressed. I was dealing with a lot of things. So for me, I totally understand that it was my immune response that really was not there to support me. Again, for others, it's comorbidity. And it just seemed like others, it's just if you carry the gene, you know, when it comes to genetics, that is something we can't question. We don't get to pick the genes that we do get. And for some of us, there was a young lady sent me a photograph of one of her colleagues. This gentleman was in his mid-30s. He worked out every day, had no problems, never smoked in his life, healthy. And he was in the hospital for like 4 months. He had a gastrostomy tube put in. He had a PEG tube put in. And when you see the before and after photograph, you really couldn't tell it was the same person. It looked nothing like the gentleman. Again, so those are some of the factors that you know, creates the variation as to how COVID might affect you. But for the people who are immunocompromised, we know that it largely affects them. For individuals with comorbidity, it does. For myself, people like me, I was very stressed. I didn't have any immune response, or maybe a little bit of response. And there are others that it's a very unpredictable, the symptoms are varied. It's pretty unpredictable. So we continue to learn more about it each day. And we just hope soon we can figure out exactly, hopefully, right? We know COVID has been around for a very long time. And So hopefully with technology is increasing each day. And today we're like so much closer to, we're doing groundbreaking things as opposed to 2 decades ago. So hopefully we can generate enough knowledge. So, I mean, we can like warn those. And again, hey, get yourself vaccinated, because it's probably the
And
best.
let me say something on that as well. One thing I learned on this one as well is some people when they get COVID, they, like she was saying, she lost her taste bud, she lost the smell. I didn't lose that. I still was enjoying food. I still, even in the hospital, I still, had an appetite. My taste was good. Now, some people get just the cough. And the other people, and from what I've realized, is the other people that I didn't have a cough, but I got pneumonia. See, and COVID comes in, one side, people get the cough. And normally those people are better off than the people that gets pneumonia. Because once pneumonia hits you, that's when it starts going into your lungs and causing you not to be able to breathe and taking your and that's where, a lot of these people that's on a breathing tube, they got pneumonia, and pneumonia has taken out their lungs. So, normally the other people that don't, my sister had COVID, but she just had the cough. She and I think she just went to a Ready Med and got a test and found out she had it and stayed home, quarantined herself, and now she's fine. But that it's that pneumonia is the kicker. There's a doctor and his wife that not too long ago, the doctor, the man, he went in and they gave him they gave him the infusion. I don't know if they gave it to his wife, but they were both up in their 70s, 80s. He came out the hospital, but his wife didn't. He just buried his wife last week. Two people go in. It's kind of like the resurrect, God coming back. 2 people go in, one come out, the other one don't. But yeah, that pneumonia. The ones that get pneumonia is the ones that really get, I think, hit the hardest.
And Dr. Lindsay, I want to stay with you for a moment. What is the difference between the Delta variant and the COVID-19?
The Delta virus is one of the COVID-19 strains. So
Okay.
as the virus moves around, it gets mutated, right? Because you get it, this group of people get it, right? And you react to it a certain way, and it mutates, and you move somewhere else. So the Delta virus is just definitely probably was much deadlier than the previous viruses. But it's just a strain, and as we keep going along, we will find that we will have other strains, because that is how viruses work.
Ms. Connie, I'm not sure. Did you get your vaccine injection, and if so, did you get it after you had COVID, or did you get it before you had COVID?
After COVID.
Okay, so I want to do a follow-up question. Did you say to yourself, once you got COVID, that once you feel better, that listen, I'm definitely going to get that vaccine shot, because it's an eye opener. I mean, I've heard people who had COVID, who tell other people, get that vaccine, get the vaccine. So was that the determining factor that resulted in you in getting the vaccine?
One, yes. I wanted, to feel better, do better, and get the vaccine, and both vaccines, yes.
Okay. Okay, and so Mark, was that the same case with you, or was it a different scenario with you, or was it the same case?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I think my thought on it was more of, for other people. I mean, it's for protecting yourself and protecting other people. I said, I didn't take the responsibility to at least, even though people saying, the shot don't work, but I didn't take the, the preparations to even give myself a chance to not get it, and at the same time, I didn't do the children, or I didn't protect myself from them, I didn't protect them from me. So, I thought about that a lot. I'm like, it's the responsible thing to do. I wasn't responsible.
Right. Dr. Lindsay, I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and of course, yesterday we lost a giant man, Mr. Colin Powell, and they said he passed away from the COVID, but he had both of his vaccine shots, and then some people like, well, if you get the vaccine shots and you still catch COVID, what is the use of me getting the vaccine shot? So what do you say to those who, because I know a good number of people who still refuse to get the vaccine shot and they don't have enough information on it. Like Mark said, it doesn't work. So how do you respond to someone who says, well, look at Colin Powell and look at other people who may have caught the virus and then they died even though they had the vaccine shots?
So to those people, I say, vaccine does not prevent us from getting the disease. What the vaccine does, it decreases the ability of the disease to make us very ill and reduce death rate. Okay, so if you'll take the flu vaccine, you will get the flu. There's for vaccines, there's absolutely no guarantee that you will not get it. What it does, it prevents, again, let me repeat, it prevents you, the disease from making you very ill. Okay, so you will get it. However, it reduces the virulence of the disease. So you're highly likely to be less sick. You're less likely to die. And so that is how over the decades, vaccines been helping us. There's no guarantee you won't get sick on it. So for the people out there who thinks that, we shouldn't get it, I just like to be practical and simple. It does not prevent you from getting it, but ensure that if you get it, it decreases the ability of it to make you very sick or decreases your chance of dying.
When the vaccine first came out and we had to change a whole new way of life, gyms were closing, this was closing, that was closing, schools was closing, and people had to adjust. And, for the most part, people couldn't travel. People had to stay in the house for the most part. I mean, it was very difficult. So I want to ask you three, starting off with Ms. Morris. How did you come about learning to adjust to this new way of life? Was it difficult for you, or did it matter to you? Was it the same to you? Just how was it when they started closing different things? You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that.
That was, that was something. I'm still adjusting.
Right.
Still having to adjust things. Life is not completely back to the way that we were. I'm still adjusting this COVID. I just want it going.
Right, definitely. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, for me, adjusting, the thing is with me, even with, when COVID started, with my job, I had to keep going out there. So I've never stopped. I was always still going to work every day. I would still, there's times where, when I went to lunch, I noticed the change there, because, there's times we had to stand outside and one person go in and you know, then get their, pay for their, you know, lunch and, you know, or like Panda Express, and you know, when they come out, then you can go in, get your lunch. So as far as it changing in that way, you know, that there was a difference. As far as me, you know, as far as what I do in my life, you know, you know, I'm really a homebody, you know, and I am a pastor, so I was working on building a church at once. So, but then you know, I ended up pulling back from that. So I really, the only thing I really do is go to work, come home, work around the house, you know, so, you know, I don't go out, I don't party or anything like that. So I really, you know, I might be with one of them people that they call boring, but, you know, my biggest thing is going to work. So it hasn't really been a big change for me. The biggest change has been, you know, I mean, I've been with the company I've been with going on 19 years, and I probably missed maybe 4 days, you know, in that 19 years, you know, so, you know, and I do not like missing work. So for being off for 3 months and I'm still off, this is like, this has probably been the biggest change for me.
Well, you know, you mentioned being a pastor, and that's another big adjustment because, you know, I was wondering, go to the Resurrection Center on a weekly basis, and now I have to go online, Facebook Live, Zoom, so that was a major adjustment. And then actually I went to my place of worship last month, and man, it was a lot of empty seats there. Now that's something that I wasn't used to seeing. You know, I mean, the churches they're not full right now because of the COVID. So that is a major adjustment. But Dr. Lindsay, I would say in your practice being a doctor, I mean, there were a lot of doctors who weren't seeing patients and they were doing telehealth services, telehealth through the phone or through the video. Was that your story as well?
Actually, I was actually my job at the time was affected by COVID-19. Well, no, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
My job at the time was affected. My company literally, they didn't say whether it was COVID-19, we suspect. They literally closed the entire operation from Delaware, Pennsylvania, Texas, all over the country. They closed our clinics. And so I went into academia full time. What I will say is that it, like many people, as a care provider, I struggled. I struggled because I was teaching online, but it was different. We as human beings, we like to be out and about and interact with people and, you know, communicate on that level. And that wasn't happening. So for a lot of us, it was very stressful. So for like a lot of people, I was literally getting to the point of depression. Because I would just get up and it was just day after day sitting at the computer teaching, seeing patients right at the computer. And I remember one day I actually was seeing a telehealth patient because I would teach Monday to Friday. And then on the weekends, I saw telehealth patients. And I remember one lady came on and I literally had to stop everything I was doing as the assessment and just sit there with her. She literally cried for 40 minutes. She was about 79. And she said, for the first 4 months of the pandemic, the restrictions, she saw no one. Right. She saw no one. And she was anxious. Right? Our primary care physician would call to check on her once a week. But again, we're calling to check on her. Right. She saw no one. And I was so touched. I was so bothered by it. And I remember just hanging up the call. I had to stay strong for her. But I remember when after the call, I literally just sat by my computer and I cried. Because as someone who's able to get around, to move about, do my business, for me, it was different. This was a 70-something-year-old lady, almost 80 years old, trapped in her house for 4 months. Her daughter worked in healthcare, so she would buy the groceries and she would leave it at the door and she would pick it up. because the daughter's intention was to prevent her from getting it. So I felt it, the loneliness, and like I said, the depression coming on. And as a care provider, I was dealing with this. I remember one other gentleman, he cried. He said, and one of the questions in the assessment that I normally ask, I said, do you have any, do you consider, killing yourself or, hurting yourself, committing suicide? And I remember him saying, I just want to die. I said, sir, do you have a plan? And he said, no, but I wish God would take me. Because he said his enjoyment was he would play music for parties for the people in the church, and he would go to church, and he no longer had that. So he no longer had that platform to communicate, with people, to touch and feel, and so one of the things I encouraged him to do at that point, he was vaccinated. I said, sir, put on your mask and go to the park. I said, you need to go walking, at least 3 days a week for half an hour. I said, put on your mask, you're vaccinated, and go to the park. So when I checked in on him 2 weeks later, he was actually doing that. So to answer your question, yes, I experienced it for myself, and I encountered it when I dealt with patients. It was pretty difficult for everybody, and continue to be difficult for a lot of us.
There are employers who are mandating that employees get vaccinated, and there are employees who refuse to do so, and they either got terminated or just quit. We could look at Kyrie Irving, for example, in NBA. He's not allowed to play with the team because he refused to be vaccinated. Does anyone of you have any opinions about employers mandating that employees get vaccinated? And do you think, what do you think about those who just refuse to do so and decide to quit, as well as those? I mean, there's a lot of job openings, but people are not applying for jobs like they did before, because I guess maybe because of the COVID, or maybe people just got used to sitting home for one reason or another. So does anyone have any comments in regards to those sentiments? Well, Pastor, I know, I see you, Pastor. I know.
Well, I mean, I have, I talked to my, I'm in the process of working to get back to work now. Mm-hmm. In my company, I've been taken off of, like I said, I've been taken off the oxygen. Lung doctor looked at my lungs today. She said, they almost look 100%. They look good. Got another appointment Thursday. So, but my company, they want all the records. They want everything, x-rays and everything, to prepare me, to check and make sure I'm fit for duty in order to let me go back to work. But I've talked to my boss, and they've mentioned that our company is going with the new mandate. And if, and that we got till December the 8th to, everybody got to be, you got to have the shots, and you got to be able to prove it. But then, unless it's a medical reason or spiritual reason. So those are two conditions that, you may not have to have those, the shots. But, my only objective to it is, like I said, I'm planning on getting the shots anyway, but
this stuff is not going.
My only objective to it is, it's being that, a pandemic created this. I don't know, they should come up with some type of, some type of leniency. I mean, I've got not going on 19 years with the company, and we just lose our job, or maybe they should just retire us, medically or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So we're going to come to some closing comments. I'm going to save Dr. Lindsay for last. With Dr. Lindsay, I want you to share your address and your services you offer at Baylor Healthcare for those who may be interested in getting physical health medical services. So, okay, you're back with us, Ms. Connie. You good to go? Okay. Okay, well, while Ms. Connie is getting herself together, Mark, you have any closing comments? You want to say how people get in contact with you? And I know you wrote a book, so once you give the website to your book and any contact information. 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, yep, I did write a book, and the book is called, no, that's upside down, but What's Stopping You is the name of the book, and it's on, you can get it from Amazon. You can get it from, just go on Amazon, Mark Hopkins, What's Stopping You? You can get it from Barnes and Noble or Arthur House. And then if, you want to get it, by me with an autograph, you can just email me, mahopk@hotmail.com. Again, mahopk@hotmail.com. And, you can get it through me as well. So we'll arrange to get it to you that way, an autograph copy.
Okay, Ms. Morris, are you still with us? Okay, I think we lost Ms. Morris. Okay, Dr. Lindsay, any closing comments? And then you want to talk about Dell Healthcare, where you're located, the services that you offer?
Sure. I want to take this opportunity to say to individuals out there, I support individuality. I support your right to choose. What I will say, let us take into consideration, and I use this too simple analogy, let us take into consideration things like smallpox, right? Smallpox has been literally eradicated as a result of vaccination. Polio has been almost eradicated as a result of vaccines. What I want everyone to do is to educate yourselves on what is going on. And when patients ask me about it, I ask them about it, and I ask them right back, how do you feel about it? We're all consumers of healthcare. And so we should all educate ourselves on what is going on with us and how this might help us. Technology has come a long way. The vaccines might have come on stream quicker than prior vaccines, but think of all the things we're doing, the cutting edge things we're doing in healthcare now that we didn't do 20 years ago. Think about it, everyone out there under my voice. Educate yourself on the matter, and let us, if by getting the vaccine, you will spare your life for an additional 10 years, and somebody else who's immunocompromised year by 5 years. Let us think about it. Again, I am not into the habit of forcing anything on anyone, but I think we should think about it, educate ourselves on it, and make educated decisions. Okay. And on that note, I also want to say we're here on Dell Care Health Solutions, is a family practice. We're located on 2801 Lancaster Avenue. Dr. Sterling, my partner, Dr. Sterling, and myself, we're 2 nurse practitioners, and we are here to ensure that we provide care that is meaningful, that is individualized, that is tailored to everyone's need. We have an in-house lab where you can get your labs done right here when you come here. We have a dental lab coming on stream early next year. Again, we want to create that experience that you have not experienced anywhere else. We want to work with you. We want to partner with you as part of our mission. Our patients are our partners while they're here in the practice and beyond. Come on out here, come see us. Okay. We look forward to seeing you and caring for you.
Okay, get that address and website.
Thank you so much. I guess I get caught up in talking about the practice. So we're at 2801 Lancaster Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19805. Telephone number is 302-467-1778. You can reach us at dellcarehealth.com.
All right, I'd like to thank all 3 of you, my guests this evening. You're all wonderful guests. I'd like to thank the audience for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. All right, everybody. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much for having
Right,
me. Thank
thanks a
you.
lot.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you all.
Okay,
It's a
until next time.
pleasure.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.